Okay, so this begins the part where I am deviating a little bit from the original waistband tutorial on the PJ Shorts free pattern. So if you've done the other version, I'm hoping this way will be a little bit easier, and we're gonna begin that method now, okay? So I have a waistband and I have it sewn into a circle. I am going to, before I go and iron my interfacing on and we do our buttonholes, because we can still do this first step and then it saves us having to go back and forth, we're gonna find the back of the shorts, and I'm going to line up right sides together, the back seam of the shorts with that seam that I just used to sew the waistband together. And I'm just going to put a few clips to position this around the shorts. Now, I am a serger queen. You know that I like to serge everything, but I want to be able to iron over the seam allowance after I sew this waistband on, and honestly, it's a lot easier to iron over a seam allowance that I did on the regular sewing machine as opposed to the serger. So at this point, I'm going to pull out this machine, just set to a regular straight stitch, and I'm going to stitch about a 3/8 seam allowance away from the edge, and I'm going to sew the waistband to the top of the shorts. And I'm going to start and stop at the back, just so I know where I am. And the serger is a bit of a thicker seam allowance, and it's also, because it cuts it, it's cut to a pretty small seam allowance. So in this case, when I want to iron that over, it just is easier if I have this nice thin fabric and I don't have sort of the fat serger seam. So in 99% of situations, I will always choose the serger when I'm sewing things together like this. But for this case, because we want to iron it, I'm going to go with this. And also, if you don't have a serger or you don't have a cover stitch, you can totally still make these shorts. Again, I think I was saying they work great in knit or in woven. They're a little bit baggier in knit, obviously. Okay, so let's go over. Yay, Brenda! Go over and we're going to do some ironing, and then we'll talk through the next step of the waistband and elastic process. So close your eyes if you get seasick. So we're going for a little bit of a ride. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is iron on my button reinforcements. Again, find which is the back and the front of these shorts. Okay, so this is the front. So I want to iron the interfacing. For which, Annette? This is like board short swim fabric, and this is just a slippery sort of lining fabric that I'm using for my waistband. We want to make our buttonholes at the very front of the shorts so I can pull my drawstring through. And so the instructions on the tutorial on my site say to place this 1 inch, our buttonhole is going to be 1 inch down from the top of the pants and 1 inch over from that center seam. So I just want to make sure that this fabric is sort of in that general area so that it gets, when we put the buttonhole in, that it gets caught. And again, my iron probably turned off, so this might take a minute. The swim short fabric is from Raspberry Creek Fabrics, and it is brand new this season. And for those of you who missed the very beginning, I was trying to order swimsuit fabric, like stretchy knit, and I accidentally ordered the board short fabric, so that's why I get new shorts. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is iron the top of the waistband, and I'm ironing this seam allowance between the two down towards the shorts. Because what we're going to do is we're going to fold this waistband back over. It's kind of a cute hidden waistband, which is why I just use this kind of blue scrap fabric. But you want something soft because it's going to be against your skin. Okay, so now that is ironed up, and we'll be able to fold it over easily. So I'm now going to fold it over again and press it along the edge so that it just lines up. The blue lining just comes over the top of the swim fabric. Then we have to iron one more time. We're going to iron up the bottom seam allowance on this blue fabric so we can stitch it and then thread our elastic. So if anybody looked up the tutorial on my website, you will see that at this point I recommended sewing the elastic before we flipped over the casing, or what did I call this? The waistband. And it just was an extra step because you had to make sure that you were stretching your elastic as you were sewing it, and I feel like it was a lot. Any fabric on your site that would have a cotton to make little girl dresses out of? Just cotton poly. I don't know. For cotton poly, I usually go with either Raspberry Creek or like fabric.com are kind of my go-to sites for kids things. I don't have any specific recommendations, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is looking really cute. Ta-da! Okay, so last thing we need to iron. So instead of sewing the elastic on and then folding it over, because you had to stretch as you sew the elastic, I'm going to try just folding over a 1/4 inch seam allowance here, and then we'll stitch it down, and then we'll just thread our elastic through like a casing, and the general look of the waistband we should achieve the same look with a much easier method. That's my goal. Ease, but still the same great finished look on the inside. So we'll see if we can do that. Okay, so I'm just, again, a very narrow 1/4 inch on the waistband, just going around the top, the side of the waistband that is not attached to the shorts. So if you want to make this for PJ shorts, board shorts like I'm making, or even just like lounging around the house shorts or pants, this is a great free pattern, and it is available on my website for you with the link in the description of this video. So you can click over and download this pattern for your use and enjoyment. All right. So now we are going to stitch this down. I'm going to just use sort of a basting stitch on my regular sewing machine because I need to leave an opening to thread the elastic, right? Oh, I also need to make buttonholes. Don't let me forget that. And then after I have my elastic threaded, I'm going to top stitch on the cover stitch all the way around for sort of the finished look. but I don't want to leave an opening, use my cover stitch and leave an opening and have to go back and fill that in with the cover stitch. So I'm just going to baste on the regular sewing machine, and then I'm going to go back and top stitch with the cover stitch to finish. But I also need to make buttonholes. So we're not really going to put a button in it, so I'm just going to kind of leave a big sort of buttonhole. Put my buttonholer on. And we'll just go with the general square. For some reason I feel like this is the back of the shorts, but no, it's telling me that's definitely the front. Okay, so I'm just gonna put one buttonhole on either side of the front center seam to be able to thread the drawstring through after we get the elastic done. And I don't know, about 3/4 of an inch away from the center seam. I probably should have done a test one, but I didn't. I probably don't need it quite as big as it's making it. Whoa. You guys. I hate when buttonholes didn't do it correctly. We're going to do the other one, and then we're going to try to fix that one. But it, on the second side, did not swoop around, whoops, and finish correctly. Again, real life sewing, your automatic buttonholer, at least mine, doesn't always automatically buttonhole correctly. All right, let's try the second one. Oops, why does my needle keep unthreading? You guys are like, just finish the shorts already. Trying. So this is a better size, but we'll hopefully, I don't know if it's because it's like catching on the edge of, no, this one's gonna do it, where like the waistband meets. Sometimes if you're going over a bump of fabric, this can't, you know, feed itself correctly. So that could be part of the issue. All right, so here is one buttonhole, the good one, and then this one, so it did this side fine, and then when it came down the other side, it went back and forth here. It didn't like come down to where it started. So I don't know what it was doing, but I'm going to just try to sew over it. Is that a really bad idea? If I have extra sewing on the front, I won't really be too worried. I'll just cut through that extra back and forth across the middle of my buttonhole. Maybe I wasn't going fast enough. You know, sometimes I've even said if you don't go fast enough, it like can't swing around properly. It did the same thing. It's making tiny buttonholes. Okay, well, we're just gonna have a tiny buttonhole on that side. It's not gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be smaller, but I can cut it open. Look at, what's this one? What does it keep doing? Ah. Okay, let me grab well, we can just use this one to cut open these buttonholes. What in the world? On the same side, 2 mess ups. What are the odds? So, let's just say when I take pictures of this, there won't be any close-ups of my buttonholes, okay? No close-ups. All right, so now what I am doing is I'm going to, yeah, I can do that, Anita. I'm going to fold this seam allowance under, and I'm going to stitch along here. We want to make sure that this is still fat enough to thread our elastic through. Very fitting, okay? But so I have, you can see where it's been pressed over, and so I probably should put a few pins as much as I don't want to. So I'm just going to do in a few places, make sure this is nice and flat and pinned down. And then because I'm not going to see this stitching, because I'm going to go over it with the cover stitch, I'm actually going to stitch on the inside of the short so I can really make sure I'm catching this edge. If this was your final stitching, I would probably stitch on the outside of the shorts just to make sure you were stitching neatly. But I'm going to go back over this and cover it with my decorative cover stitch. I know, Michelle, was it, no, 2 weeks ago I made like 6 buttonholes on a pillow, and every single one of them turned out just fine. And then today, of course, the first one I try to do for you guys is wonky. So, yeah, take it. Okay, so again, I'm going to sew on the inside so I can make sure I'm tucking that seam allowance over, and maybe this is just kind of a basting stitch because I am going to decoratively cover this whole thing in the cover stitch once I get the elastic threaded. And we are almost finished. So those of you who are hanging around to try and see the final photos, you're doing awesome. We're going to get there. I am going to model this for you in my pasty winter legs, not ready for summer, however excited. Next week we will be at the beach. So yeah, spring break, this is the last week of school before spring break for my kids. They are ready. My son Jack is very ready for a break. School is a lot for him right now, and I keep saying just a few more days. And then, of course, you know, weeks after spring break. But I feel like if we can just get through to the break, have a little brain break and some sun, he'll be able to push through, hopefully, to the end of the school year. I'm just sewing right on the very edge. I want to make sure I leave plenty of room to thread the elastic through. The original version of this did not have us threading the elastic, so I feel like I need to try and make a bit more room for the casing rather than just folding the elastic already in it. Oops. And make sure you leave an opening. I came around very quickly. But, so here is the waistband. Doesn't that look really nice on the inside? And stitched. Here's my stitching on the front. It's not bad, but I am just going to go over it with the decorative stitching since I've done everything else with that. And then I'm going to thread my elastic through the opening that I left, which I kind of forgot and didn't leave a huge opening, so hopefully to be able to get it through. And I want it to be pretty snug in there, and I think it's gonna be actually a really good fit. I know, Patricia, they do have a mind of their own. It's like computers. I always say I have a love-hate relationship with my computer. So many things on it, so many things about it I love, and then half the time I wanna smash it to bits and never be reliant on a laughing their bobbins off. Never want to have to use it again. So this is a pre-measured elastic. And I kept it, I think, a little bit on the loose side because we're going to add I am going to add the drawstring, so it doesn't have to be like super tight. It's pretty fitted through my casing, but I would rather that than too loose. I don't want a lot of play, and I will secure it in a couple spots after I get it threaded through. Come on, elastic. We're almost around. Now, I have to figure out, did it twist at all in there, or can I just sew this? Kind of feels like it might have twisted. Flat. Get in there. Okay, so there is the balance of fitted but not too snug, obviously. I don't know. We're going to say it didn't twist in there, and we're going to sew it. And then we can hopefully get it smoothed out in there. So just with the zigzag, I'm going to connect the two ends of the elastic so I can pull it within here and start to smooth it out. Get in there. And I'm gonna run a quick stitch down the center of each of my side seams to hold the elastic in place. Susan, yes, I generally order a lot of my fabric online just because I don't like to shop. And so if you always use coupons and, you know, save those things and do those from Hobby Lobby, you definitely, or not Hobby Lobby, Joann fabric, you definitely can get some good deals. But I don't like to have to go shopping only when they have coupons, and I don't like to have to figure out which coupons are good. So I do generally just order online. Fabric.com often has a lot of sales. Some of their fabrics are not the best quality, but just for making kids' clothes or practicing on things, I find that it's just fine. So that's, of course, personal preference. Okay, so last thing. I'm going to take the cover stitch and top stitch around this whole waistband to close the hole that I left, and then I'll try it on, okay? Woohoo! So, last top stitching using the cover stitch, we're gonna go around the back, and then we're gonna pray these fit. And if they don't, I guess I'll find someone a little bit smaller than me to wear them. So you want to make sure that you're stretching a little bit as you're sewing, so that I'm retaining that stretch of the elastic waistband, right? So pulling the material flat as I'm sewing it. But I also don't want to put tension on the needles. So there is the balance of pulling it, and that's why I also have this hand in the back, is so I can continue to pull it through the back side, so I'm not putting that torque on the needles. And because I already did sew this waistband on, at this point this stitching is probably purely decorative. But I want it to match sort of the rest of the style of the shorts, so we're putting it on. All right, and now we will try to get the fabric off the needles, which has so far been my bit of a challenge. Okay, so some threads to put away, but look at how cute these are. Oops, here's the front. Look at how cute these are. I am very excited to try these on, and very much hoping that they actually fit me. What did I do with the drawstring? Oh, here. I'm gonna quick thread the drawstring through my buttonholes so we can get the full effect. You guys get the full effect. And it just goes through kind of over the elastic in the same. Do you guys know what I did? I sewed the elastic in place. Do you know what that means? I can't put the drawstring in. What I can do, and what I will do later, is just put the drawstring into here and sew it. And so then I have like a faux drawstring that's just at the front. So I'll still be able to tighten it up a little bit if I need. So, okay, I'm gonna step over to the side and put on my shorts and then show you my cute board shorts. Okay, so hold tight 1 second, and then we'll have a big reveal for today's project, which took longer than some other projects. Should have thought through wearing the skinny jeans that are hard to take off. Okay, they fit great. I wish I had a drawstring, but that's what we'll do. So, put my tank top over it. Here are my swim shorts with pocket. Right there, I put my keys in it or whatever I need. Maybe I don't really need the drawstring, or I can just put it for style, but the fit is actually really perfect. And I love the length, so I'm happy with them. So there you go, flannel short and beach shorts, the perfect combination, right? Flannel shirt, beach shorts. But the fabric is great, it's so smooth. Anyway, so you can grab this pattern, sew up beach shorts. This is the first for me. I haven't ever used it for beach shorts before, but it works great. You can also use these for PJ shorts or just lounge shorts around the house or anything you want, but it is a free pattern, so you should grab it and take advantage of it. And again, I will be adding the video of how I did the waistband today to the shorts post so that you'll be able to see that and have that as another option for sewing on the waistband as opposed to my original version. What else was I gonna say? So yeah, you can also save this video by sharing it to your timeline, and then that will be a way you can come back and watch it anytime you want, especially if you are gonna be making these and putting these together, you'll be able to have that as a reference. So thank you so much for joining me. I will actually be out of town the next 2 Wednesdays, so it'll be a few weeks before I'm back, but I will be back in, at some point. No, I'll be back in April, and excited to sew again with you guys and just be around. So have a great end of March, and I will see you in April. Bye.